Alrighty guys, it has been a bit since we've tackled Matt Powell. It's been a while since we've decided to sit down with one of his videos and just have a grand old time. And I think we've had enough doom and gloom for one day. So let's make fun of him a little bit. But first, let's get into the fan art section. Our piece of fan art we have today comes from, I think it's Nix or Nobody Important. Their name is Nobody Important. They've changed their name, but the other name is Nobody Important. That's a lie. You are important, especially if you made this Clippy artwork, because I changed my profiles to Clippy. I'll have them like that for probably another week or so before moving and shuffling things around again. But not only did they make this Clippy artwork, they also made this Clippy artwork where I have the Clippy boobies. Nobody Important says, it's me. Ah, okay, there we go. Well, I appreciate you doing Clippy Suris and also Clippy Suris with boobies. I appreciate it greatly, especially the 3D modeling on it. I could technically print this out and put it in my office if I so chose. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. If y'all want to see your fan art in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. That all said, let's go ahead and see what in the hell Matt Powell has to say, because it's interesting to me that he's never changed what he does. A ton of creators change what they do with their content and their styles, and he just kind of stays the same. So I want to see what he's doing. Let's take a look.
The universe can begin from nothing. The laws of physics allow a universe to begin from nothing. You don't need a deity. You have nothing.
Imagine if I made the claim that some element like gold just appeared out of nothing in this area where I'm filming this video.
Well, it's funny, Matt, because that's not what's actually claimed, okay? That's not what's claimed. So, a universe from nothing. If you've actually read Krause's book, which, you know, I don't know if I would support him with money anymore. It's weird that he's still talking about Lawrence Krauss in 2025, year of our Lord and Savior. Zora says, yeah, I know this vid. It just strikes me as weird that we're still talking about things that Lawrence Krauss has said. I feel like we've evolved past Krauss. Maybe a little bit. But, like, the idea of universe coming from nothing, in Krauss's estimation, it's like from a weird quantum state, right? If memory serves from his book. It's been years since I tried to read the damn thing. And I'm gonna be honest, I actually got kind of bored by it as well. And maybe that's for the best. But generally speaking, the idea that most physicists have about the universe isn't really that it came from nothing. It's more that all matter was condensed into a hot, dense state, which is different than nothing. I mean, it might as well be nothing, but it's still different than nothing. And it's different, notably, because it's all of the component parts that would eventually become our universe, which is what we understand to be our universe, which is very, very different. It's fundamentally very different than the claim from nothing, like ex nihilo. It's a different claim. The reason it's different is we understand that when it comes to our universe, we know that stars create a bunch of different types of matter. They are quite literally element forges. We know that's a thing that happens. So the theory basically runs that the component parts to make stars come from the Big Bang, and then from stars come the heavier elements that would comprise our universe. Everything else is emergent from that. It's a very slow process, but it is an emergent process. That's not necessarily the same thing as like universe ex nihilo, but okay, Matt, let's see what you got to say.
Nobody would probably really believe that. But yet, there are some people who claim that the entire cosmos, the entire world, popped into existence with all of the elements from nothing. This is a belief in magic.
Well, hold on. No, Matt, actually, fundamentally, that's not what anybody really believes, like if they've actually studied this at all. And granted, I'm not an expert. I've only studied this enough in order to do counter-apologetics years and years and years ago. Unlike my older videos, I'm shooting entirely from the hip, without the ability to script out my responses at all. Once upon a time, I could look up the answers to this stuff as I was going, and it would make me sound all super smarticles, because I was way more concerned about my image back then. I don't care about it as much anymore. I'm willing to say when I'm wrong, and I'm willing to say when I don't know something, but the idea that all of the elements that we know coming to be all at once, that's not something that physicists believe happened. That's not something that scientists believe happened. That's not what it is. Again, stars are literally element forges. So the stuff to make stars, and then subsequently everything else, that's what happened, as far as we know, Matt, which again is very, very different. Storm says, as the song goes, our whole universe was in a hot, dense place. Yeah, which is, you know, not unlike being in Matt Powell's brain.
There is no question that atheism is based in mysticism.
What?
It is not true. It is unscientific. The initial claim of atheism...
Well, hold on. Wait, is the claim going to be that... Because, like, the claim can go one of two ways. You can either say that atheism is as dumb as a mystic belief, or you can say that atheism is the mystic belief and other beliefs are uniquely not the mystic beliefs. Like, those are your two options here, honestly. So which one is it going to be, my guy?
Is actually the greatest argument against atheism. Think about it. They believe that the world created itself from literally nothing. Check out this quote from Stephen Hawking. He said that because
hold on. Did you say the world created itself?
From literally nothing. Theism. Think about it. They believe that the world created itself.
But that's not... Hold on. First of all, my guy, we gotta define world. Like, we have to define world before we can do any of that shit. So if you're talking about our world as in Earth, if you're gonna say the words like created itself, well, now we have to define create. We've got to be, if you're gonna be a pedantic little bitch, then we have to be pedantic little bitches with you. So are you just talking about the world coming into existence, or are you talking about the world creating itself, which would require the world to have some kind of agency? I feel like Matt is so loosey-goosey with his words that even he himself doesn't know what he fucking believes. Okay, so yes, Matt, to the 3 people in the world that believe that the Earth is sentient and therefore created itself, sure. I guess maybe they might be in the room right now.
From literally nothing. Check out this quote from Stephen Hawking. He said that because there are laws such as gravity, the universe can and will create itself from nothing. Alexander Volinkhin said that the universe can spontaneously...
Okay, so. We are quote mining. That's what we're doing right now in the year of 2025. We're still quote mining. We're not actually like going into any scientific evidence, no data, no studies, no nothing. We're just listening to what somebody said and just sniping the quote without any further context. Is that all you can do, Matt? Have you never improved past this point? Like, this is why I stopped doing this, largely, because this conversation is boring. Davinia says quote mining? Okay, cool. So, quote mining is a tactic that is largely, I'm just going to say boring, but largely the tactic of quote mining is done when you hear somebody say something that sounds like it supports your argument or sounds really stupid, and instead of giving the full context to what somebody was saying or what they meant, you just snipe that bit of the quote and you let that be that. You let that be your entire argument. Somebody said a thing and I think it's dumb. That's what you end up hearing. So if you want a modern version of quote mining, it's clip chimping. Modern quote mining is clip chimping. Clip chimping is what happens when instead of coming up with an argument against something that a streamer said, you just quickly quote or quickly snip a little bit of their stream away, and then you respond to that. It's what Asmongold did to Niara. When Niara would talk about HRT in relation to kids, and Asmon would just go, why do you keep talking about kids? Why are you always talking about kids? And his best way of arguing is just literally clip chimping away from her stream. So you were asking if they were quote mining? Oh, no doubt. He's definitely quote mining. So, like, if we are talking about the universe spontaneously creating itself, if that is a loose way to say the phrase, the universe is an emergent property of the previous existence of things in our universe, like, the universe is an emergent property of, what would it be? Base elements? And base elements are an emergent property of the Big Bang. There we go. That's the whole version of that. That's the whole version of that without being disingenuous. It was probably guilty of quote mining at schools. I was probably guilty of quote mining at schools. I think everybody has done that at some point when they're trying to win an argument. Like, it's the thing that we go to when we don't have anything else to do, when we don't have any other better arguments. Let's see here. Vampire says, Gloomy Galleon, my beloved. No. Quote, strip mining.
Create itself out of nothing. Here's from Lawrence Krauss. He said the universe can and will create itself from nothing. These claims made by atheists are very foolish. They are demonstrably false. They are not true. The first law of thermodynamics tells us that matter and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. And so to make the claim that everything just appeared from nothing is to make the argument that magic is real. The Bible says that in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
I don't think I know atheists who believe that magic is real. I know atheists who believe that magic is real. But I don't think that anybody who says that the universe came from nothing is also believing in magic. I don't think that that's the case there. Hold on, Matt. You're going to have to wait for me to line up these bananas. This is way more important and far more interesting than anything you could be doing right now. Oh, well, I guess I fucked up on a coconut. Oh, well. Said magic is real, but it would be even realer if booster packs were cheaper. Yeah, magic is real, and it's part of the gathering. Oh, well, I guess I just didn't get that one. Thanks, Matt Powell. You ruined my luck at Donkey Kong. That's what happened. Matt Powell screws up my time at Donkey Kong. That's really what this is. Yeah, I believe in Magic the Gathering, the ability for people to come together and enjoy a card game together instead of listening to Matt's random fucking hate shit. If I'm being honest, I think that's the real culprit here, is that every time Matt talks about Magic, I want him to be talking about the card game that is far more interesting than the words that come out of his mouth. Also, whenever somebody gets, like, upset at an atheist that agrees that the universe was made ex nihilo, which I'm not saying that they don't exist, but whenever somebody gets mad about that, and it's like, well, hold on, you believe that too, Matt. That's what you believe. Most atheists believe that the universe came out of some component parts that were available at the point of the Big Bang. You believe the universe came out of nothing, and that there was a version of God was able to do it because he's got access to magic. And then you'll say that it's not magic because you need it to not be magic because your Bible says magic is evil and wrong and bad. I don't know, Matt. It's supremely boring, but let's continue. Let's see if I can find a reason to return to Matt Powell videos.
And that is the best explanation for the origin of time, space, and nature. We did not appear out of randomness. So the initial claim that atheists...
Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and be a pedantic asshole again. The concept, the origin of time, doesn't make any sense. Time doesn't exist. Time is a measurement of change. Time is literally just a measurement device we use to note that things are different. That's why the Big Bang is also known as the T=0 event, because it's the moment where 0 happened on the clock of time. Before then, the idea that there was anything on the clock of time was absurd. So change began, and now we're here. Anyway, Matt, continue.
Atheists make about the origin of the universe is the very claim that is the easiest to debunk from a scientific perspective, because there is no way that everything that you see around you could have just popped into existence.
That's what your Bible says, Matt. What the fuck are you talking about?
Uncaused by randomness and from nothing. If I made the argument that nothing could start a fire, that would be absurd, right? But imagine if an explosion occurred and nuclear fusion came about. How is it that we have nuclear fusion in the universe? Could nothing cause nuclear fusion to just spark itself into existence? You cannot get something from nothing.
And this just feels like him not understanding what the actual arguments are. Okay. Thanks, Matt. Said false dichotomies suck just a little bit. Just a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and quickly Google the Big Bang Theory real quick, just because it's going to be far more accurate than anything Matt says. The Big Bang Theory explains that the universe began around 13.8 billion years ago from an extremely small, hot, dense point that rapidly expanded and cooled, eventually leading to the formation of atoms, stars, and galaxies that we see today. Okay, that's not from nothing. This expansion continues, and the theory is supported by evidence such as the ongoing recession of galaxies, the existence of the cosmic microwave background radiation, and the abundance of light elements. Of course, light elements being the things that eventually would allow stars to forge heavy elements, basically. The key concepts are a rapid expansion. The universe didn't start with an explosion in the traditional sense, but rather a rapid expansion from an initial incredibly tiny point. As the universe expanded, it cools, allowing subatomic particles to form. Then atomic nuclei, and finally atoms, which then came together to form stars and galaxies. I guess this is not unlike steam being able to be turned into a solid. It's no different in concept, Matt. And again, I'm just going off of fucking Google real quick. That's all I'm doing. What is the Big Bang Theory? Not. It is not an explosion in space. It is not a creation from nothing. The theory describes an evolution from a specific hot, dense state, not the creation of the universe from absolute nothing. Again, I don't give a flying shit what Lawrence Krauss says, and I also don't give a shit what your quote mining of random scientists say. I do not know what they meant, and I do not care to clarify. I don't have to care, because I live in a world where I am so used to listening to Matt here quote mine and, just do old-style clip chimping, where there is no further context to those statements, and I just cannot care. I don't have to care about the context because Matt doesn't care about the context.
Out of nothing, nothing comes. Nothing is not going to generate something by random chance.
Only such a universe can begin from nothing.
Before the Big Bang, there was nothing. Literally nothing.
Okay.
And then something happened, triggering the most colossal explosion in history.
So now we're just taking a clip from the History Channel? Okay.
In a billionth of a billionth of a billionth of a second, the universe grew from the size of that tiny point to something billions of miles across. This colossal blast created everything, all the matter we see in the universe today.
That is a gross oversimplification.
So how can we trust these atheist science celebrities?
Okay, so again, that is a gross oversimplification of what the Big Bang Theory is. And even what I described was a gross oversimplification based entirely on Googling something really quickly so that I wasn't hip-firing as much as I normally would be on one of these. I don't care what the History Channel says. The History Channel aren't experts. And I don't care what was randomly said by Hawkins or anybody else, because despite the fact that many of them were experts, I can't trust your version of events to be accurate. Because in your version of their quotes, you get to control how much of the quote is said. I'm fairly certain that there's some surrounding bits of those quotes, and maybe there's somebody in my chat that's familiar enough with those quotes to pull them up instantly. But I'm sure there's surrounding information around those quotes that undermines your argument, Matt.
To tell us anything about the universe or about science or about the origin of life when they are so blatantly incorrect about the very fundamental of their belief in atheism. The cosmological argument states that everything
also, the concept, the belief in atheism, is a bit of a misnomer. I can't think of anybody that has a, what the fuck is that? A belief in atheism. Atheism is an answer to a question. Do you believe God exists? If you do not believe God exists, then you're an atheist. That's all it is. You can get into the nitty-gritty of like, oh, technically agnosticism, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a fuck. That conversation's been boring for fucking 7 years, and the people who've engaged with that conversation for 7 years are also fucking boring. Don't give a shit. Depraved Ambient says pop science reporting on and pop science programming is not science. Yeah, the point of pop science is to communicate science ideas broadly in a way that general audiences will understand. That's all it is. Gainer says, as an aside, having your background be moments before being splattered by an 18-wheeler is a choice? Wait, like, does he actually have pieces of that video as his background right now, or is that just you filling in the gaps on what this definitely would be, Gainer? Either way, man, this guy's a fucking joke. This guy's a joke. I think the most important thing we can do when we're dealing with creationists like this is just laugh. Filling in the gaps. Ah, okay, the 18-wheeler of the gaps argument. I understand. I understand now. It's the 18-wheeler of the gaps. All right, Matt, what you got for us?
Begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist at some point, and that means that the universe must have a cause that goes beyond it, that must be outside of it, that must be timeless, spaceless, and immaterial.
No, it doesn't have to be timeless, spaceless, or immaterial. There's nothing about causing the universe that requires that. You're literally filling that in yourself. So, just a real quick thing for anybody in the chat. Can you conceive of a universe coming into being because of a being that is not timeless or spaceless, but is merely outside of our universe? Because last I checked, there is an idea called the cosmos. And the cosmos, very, very briefly, and again, not very articulately, because this is not my field of study and it is no longer my hyperfixation. But the cosmos is the idea that our universe exists within a larger bubble, effectively. Davinia says, is the universe one giant time loop? We don't know. That's just something that we do not know right now. There's all kind... Oh my god, that mermaid's tits are gigantamassive. Why does everything in this game have the world's biggest tatas? Can you believe it? The reptiles have stolen my precious pearls, but you've got a couple of them right there on your chest. Ma'am, you are stacked with pearls right now. How the fuck are you staying underwater with those flotation devices? Is that it? Or is it just, do I literally just come in so you can tell me that you're sad? Can I buy you dinner if I make you not sad? I'll go make you not sad. That's fine with me. Jet Fatigue says, I mean, it's not like we don't know the kind of people who are making these games. It's true. It's true. And if Matt Powell ever watches this response to his videos, he has to watch me goon over a low poly mermaid. And I think there's poetry in that.
Brought into existence, time, space, and nature must have been able to make the choice, an intelligent mind, to bring it.
Not really. So, like, as an example, you can have a cause that was not caused by an agent. You can. As an example, if I see a pebble at the bottom of a riverbed, I don't have to assume that a bear picked up that pebble and lobbed it over there. It's equally viable for me to assume that, actually, that pebble was originally further upstream. And thanks to water moving at high pressure, now that pebble has moved further downstream. Sakura points out, humanity's existence isn't even necessarily relevant to why the person who created the universe created it. True, we could easily be just a cosmic fart. Like, the only reason that we consider ourselves very, very important to the universe at all is because we are ourselves. That's it. We deem it important for us to exist because we feel important. But there actually is no real importance to human existence. And there's something comforting about that. Your existence isn't very important, so you don't have a giant burden on your back. Now you can just go and be happy. Now you can just go and do and be whatever you want. Make up your own reason for existing. And that should be good enough. What was that moment in Attack on Titan where Aaron's mom said, I don't have to care whether or not my son is special. It's good enough that he's alive. It's good enough that he exists. That's all that's necessary, is for you to be alive and exist. That's all that matters. You don't have to have some special purpose brought onto you by some god or otherwise. You merely have to be alive and breathing. And that's all that's needed for people like Matt Powell to get really, really upset. Because why don't you look to God for the happiness for your existence? Sarah Chikorita says a deistic god is just as plausible as an active god. Exactly. Not only is a deistic god just as plausible, but a deistic finite god is just as plausible. One that creates the universe and then just ceases existing? Or one that's creation of the universe had the direct result of turning him finite? There's all kinds of different ways you can look at how the universe came to be. And until we have a solid answer, while we're in the realm of being able to just make shit up, why not just make the shit that we make up really interesting? Why not make it really fun?
These elements into existence. And to bring something as big as the ocean into existence requires power and intelligence. To assemble tiny pieces of material known as H2O requires power and intelligence. To not believe in God would take more faith than to believe in...
Wait, to make H2O requires power and intelligence? Last I checked, it just required the component pieces. That's not power and intelligence. That's just having hydrogen on hand. Soccer says hydrogen's the most common element in the universe. Is it? I didn't know that. I was not aware that it was the most common element in the universe. So the ocean is huge within the universe?
In God. It takes irrational faith to be an atheist, but it takes rationality to understand that God did in fact create this world. So you have a timeless, spaceless, immaterial God
Again, you don't necessarily need all that. You just think you do.
who made the choice to create this world. Everything isn't just going to appear from nothing and from random chance. That is magic. That is a belief in mysticism.
So it takes no energy to create a universe. Universes are for free. A universe is a free lunch. And then you may say to yourself, well, that can't be right.
So the best argument against atheism
Didn't you
is
just put a
actually
hack up
atheism's
on screen?
initial claim that everything came from nothing, and by random chance, we just appeared here.
Oh, is that it? Is that all you got? Is there anything interesting in the comments section? So nothing can pop into existence except when God does it. When scientists say the universe came from nothing, they usually mean the universe may have emerged from a quantum state. Matt, you clearly don't understand the science. I'd be more careful with your cute little gotcha quips. They fall flat. Said everything has a cause. Very well. What caused your God? Me so smart, I believe a book about zombie Jesus from goat herders. Therefore, atheism falls. I do like this guy here saying that he says that this is comedy gold. It is comedy gold. Like, okay, let's get one thing out of the way. There's nothing wrong with being a Christian. There's nothing wrong with believing in Christianity. That's an entirely fine thing to do. It's fine. It's whatever. It's claiming that this is how things must be, as opposed to this is how I believe they are. When you say that this is how things have to be, all you're really doing is giving us the carte blanche to make fun of you. Divini says, why doesn't his God still create today? Well, obviously he expended all of his power and he's not here anymore. So do you think God had a non-canon parent? Says Christianity has fucking non-canon lore. Yep, it does. It's the Star Wars Extended Universe. It's the Star Wars Extended Universe. I'm super happy it exists. It's very interesting. But fuck me, I don't have to study it to enjoy it. Lodash says God was very eepy after making everything and needed a quick 14 billion year power nap. Cersei is like Aladdin from Magic Short and a Gooner. Shut up. God is billions in child... He's billions behind in child support payments. Wild. Wild. God is behind on child support payments. I believe it. I believe it. Do you think God would be a deadbeat dad? Do you think that God the Father would just be a deadbeat dad? I think he would be. Listen here, son, I made you in 6 days. It's day 7, I'm gonna have a beer. What's that? It's been billions of years? Shut the fuck up and go make me a beer. I don't care, you can turn water to wine, that's not Budweiser. Keep putting a fucking trans woman on my beer. Said Yahweh's kind of an asshole for leaving his old pantheon. Yeah, what a cock. He shouldn't have left all the old gods in the Old Testament. What a bitch. What a EBG little guy. What a dumb little dude. Jesus, go invent beer. I'm thirsty. Tired of wine. Shit doesn't taste as good as you think it does. You know what they say? The cheaper the bottle of water, the sweeter the taste of the wine. I'm gonna start my own religion with blackjack and hookers, then tell people that those both are evil. It's true. It's true. Oh my god, there are rainbow coins in this game? What? Oh no. Now I've gotta go find all the woke coins. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I really could not do any of this without all of you. Those of you watching, and especially those of you who support me on Patreon. I wanted to go ahead and take a minute to thank all of you who do that, because with YouTube being what it is these days, I really cannot do this full time without the support from each and every one of you. Those people would be Red Joker, Purple Poundini, Jemshin, Britzkrieg, Jupe the Malignant, Michael, Ravalern, Mabbity Babbity, Astral Frontier, Tales of Atonement, Nixie Chan, Kiri Artemis, Limor Pinku, Love Bunny Games, Victorian Alchemist, I'm not saying the last part of that, and you know that, Aurora, Leela Ururaka, Arcton Arclacier, Kiratorian, Dren Hadamata, Jordan M, John L, Lord Bleck, Smiling Game Master, and Fireshard. Thank you so very much. But since you're here, why not go ahead and try watching another one? There should be one that's on the screen right now. And if you are a patron of mine, I wanted to go ahead and thank you again for all of your support. There is still a video you could press though, if you'd like. I would appreciate it. Just a little bit.